All right, let's move on. 4:25 p.m. Eastern. We got Bebsie's Niners in play. 6-6, 4-2 on the road. Cincinnati Bengals 7-5, 3-3 at home. I wonder. I thought I got them at a steal when I only bet $50 like a very safely, but I'm curious to see what they are now. I got 30-1 to win the NFC. Oh, they're not even going to list them. Oh no, that's for number one seed. Sorry, I got 30-1 to win the NFC. Now the Niners are at 25-1. So even that loss didn't hurt them that much. And the win I got 60-1, and now they are 50-1. Well, I lost. I thought the loss would hurt them a little more. Gerald Jones saying Fromm just picked up last week from the Buffalo practice squad. Yeah, no, yeah. I think we got to take unders there. All right, let's go. Paul Brown Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio, 46 Fahrenheit, sunny, 7 miles per hour. These Niners open up as 1-point dogs. Sports Interaction has moved it to a pick'em. This total opened up at 47. It is now 48.5. When we go to the cash flow here, we have 4,110 tickets in. 34% of the tickets on the Niners, 48% of the cash on the Niners. 47% of tickets on the under, and I guess an enormous bet is coming on the under. So there's 99% of cash at this point on the under. San Francisco comes in off that very disappointing 30-23 loss at Seattle, snapped their 3-game losing streak. Swept by Seattle in 2 games this year. Jimmy G, 20 of 30 for 299 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. George Kittle, 9 catches for 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. But Elijah Mitchell was stymied. 22 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. San Francisco had averaged 178.3 yards rushing per game during a 3-game winning streak. Finished with 71 against the Seahawks. Azeez Al-Shaair at 16 tackles and half a sack. They got 4 sacks and 8 quarterback hits. Quan Williams had an interception for 4 yards. Didn't have starting receiver Deebo Samuel due to a groin injury. Didn't have starting linebacker Fred Warner due to a hamstring injury. They didn't have their linebacker Harris. Then they lose cornerback Emmanuel Mosley to a ankle injury in the first quarter. He did not return. We'll let Bebsie give us an update on the Niners injuries. Bengals coming off a disappointing 41-22 home loss to the Chargers. Joe Burrow dislocated his pinky and struggled at times. He says he doesn't think it could possibly be worse. If it's any worse, he won't be able to play. But he seems to think he's going to be able to play. He ended up 24 of 40 for 300 yards, a touchdown, 2 picks, and lost a fumble. T. Higgins caught 9 passes for 138 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Boyd, 5 passes for 85 yards. After back 100-yard games, Mixon was 19 of 54 for a touchdown, lost a fumble. The defense was still able to get pressure on Herbert, but the secondary was continually getting beaten through the air. The defense did finish with 4 sacks, 10 quarterback hits. Linebacker Marcus Bailey and linebacker Logan Wilson left in the first quarter with shoulder injuries. Chidobe Awuzie had an interception, but left with a right foot injury in the third quarter and didn't return. So let's just see if we can get one last update on these guys. So Joe Burrow still expected to play. Logan Wilson, it was a dislocated shoulder in Sunday's loss to the Chargers. He's been incredible at times this year. So he's out. T. Higgins tweaked his ankle, but he'll be fine. Joe Mixon hurt his neck in the game, but he says he'll be fine. But Awuzie is dealing with this foot injury. There hasn't been a legitimate update. At least I don't have one here. And then, Riley Reeve, Trey Hopkins, offensive tackle center, inactive last week, questionable this week. Here we go, Bebsy. Your Niners in action. Take it away.
I understand the urge to bet the Niners coming off that loss and the fact that they are still sitting in the final playoff spot in the NFC. But the reality is they're probably not going to have Deebo back this week. They're probably not going to have Fred Warner back this week. But maybe the biggest 2 losses is one that Mosley, who's been a stud for them, and has been the only reason their secondary hasn't been an absolute mess. He's out. He's out with a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss some time. So now you have Dante Johnson. If you're a Niners fan, you know who Dante Johnson is. He's the guy who somehow has been on this team for like 8 years, and all he does is come in, get burned, or commit penalties. And on the other side, you got Josh Norman, who, despite leading the NFL in forced fumbles, is also leading the NFL in pass interference. They're going up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. They are going to get lit up. There's just so many crucial players missing. And I just think this is a backbreaker because on the offensive side, they lost Mostert for the season. Elijah Mitchell kind of, shows up as a great rookie running back that they drafted in the 6th round. Third round running back went down last week for at least been put on IR. But Mitchell's in concussion protocol off of an incredibly cheap shot. There was no flag on. And then Jeff Wilson Jr.'s knee flared up. So they're down to JaMychal Hasty, who is the worst back on their roster, who started the year. And he's okay as like a change of pace back, but they're pulling guys from practice squads all over the league. Trenton Cannon got knocked out on the kickoff last week. So they have no running backs and they have no corners. If San Francisco wins this game, it will be just pure willpower. They're just missing too many players. So I'm on Cincinnati.
All right. Betting against his boys here. Cincinnati is a pick'em now at Sports Interaction. Let me just take a look at that and see what Circa is hanging as well. Wow. Jesus. Circa does this sometimes. It's nuts. They get so far ahead of the market. Circa has the Niners at plus 2.5 at minus 125. That's nuts. So they have the Bengals minus 2.5 at plus 106. I mean, that's just crazy. So they're not going to be used here. Let's see what we can get you. Sports Interaction has the pick'em. I've got them up here, so I'm just going to take a look at it. And yes, minus 110 pick'em for the Bengals. And you are locking that in, Bebsie.
Yes, sir. I hate to do it because this kind of might mean the season for the Niners, but they're just not the same team without Debo, without a running back.
And Mr. Fun Monk says it's the pinky finger. They'll just numb it. He'll be fine. Viper says Jimmy G is unbackable.
You don't know what Jimmy G is going to show up. Jimmy G for the last 3 weeks leading up to this previous game was a stud. And he was horrendous for most of that Seahawks game. And yes, Dennis, I am ugly, and so is my team. I know you're drunk, and I know you don't really mean that, but I agree wholeheartedly with you.
Oh, booze bag trusty in the chat. All right, let's move on. That is Niners, Bengals. That total is at 48.5 going up. Do you agree with that market move going up?
I mean, the fact that Kyle Shanahan in certain games has been able to manufacture points with whoever's there, and the Bengals should absolutely torch this Niners secondary, then yeah, I kind of agree with it.